Imagine a world where no one kept their word, where promises were as fleeting as smoke. That's the world before institutions, before trust, was more than a whisper. In that world, cooperation was a gamble. You could not rely on anyone, not even yourself. Every transaction, every agreement was a question mark in the dark. These early systems of trust, like shared harvests, mutual defense, or the first rules, were not perfect. They were fragile, but they were the first step towards something greater. Institutions didn't just emerge. They were built by people who dared to believe that cooperation could outlast chaos. That's the story we're about to explore. This is not just about history. It's about how we built the world we live in, and what happens when we stop building. So, what exactly are we talking about? Institutions are the invisible scaffolding of society. They're the rules, the roles, the shared understandings that allow people to live together without constant conflict. They are not just laws or governments, but the systems that give meaning to our actions. Think of them as the silent partners in every transaction, every agreement, every promise we make to one another. They are the foundation of shared purpose, the reason we can build cities, write books, or even dream together. They are the glue that holds society together, even when we don't see them. So when we talk about the birth of institutions, we're not just talking about the creation of systems. We're talking about the emergence of trust, the shaping of meaning, and the quiet, persistent work of building something that lasts. You might not think about it, but every time you buy something online, you're trusting a system that doesn't know you. That trust isn't magic. It's built on institutions that make this possible. Institutions aren't just about rules. They're about creating a world where people can focus on what matters, not on proving their worth every second of every day. When you think about how easy it is to send money to someone across the world, or how safe it is to share personal information, you're witnessing the invisible work of institutions. These systems don't just protect you, they give you freedom. Freedom to innovate, to create, to build a future without constantly worrying about being exploited. So yes, you should care. Not because institutions are perfect, but because they're the foundation of the trust and safety that let you live your life without fear. The first institutions emerged in the fertile river valleys of Mesopotamia, where cities rose from the mud like ancient monuments to human ingenuity. These early societies built canals, wrote laws, and created the first systems of record-keeping to manage water, trade, and power. In Egypt, the Nile's annual flood brought both destruction and renewal. Pharaohs claimed divine authority to organize labor and build monumental projects that symbolized both centralized control and shared purpose. The Greeks, in contrast, developed city-states where citizens debated, voted, and shaped laws through institutions like the Athenian Assembly. This was a radical idea. Power shared among free men, not just kings or priests. As empires expanded, institutions evolved to manage vast territories. The Roman Empire built a legal system, roads, and bureaucracies that endured for centuries, laying the groundwork for the modern state. The medieval world saw the rise of universities, guilds, and monasteries, each an institution that preserved knowledge, regulated trade, and offered spiritual guidance, all while navigating the chaos of war and change. Imagine you and your friends are playing a game. You all agree on the rules, and everyone follows them because you all want to have fun. That's what institutions are. They're the rules that help people work together. When you're playing, you trust that others will follow the rules. If someone breaks them, you all stop and talk about it. That's how trust starts, by following the same rules together. When you're playing with friends, you all want to win, but you also want to have fun. Institutions help people find a way to work together without cheating or getting hurt. So, institutions are like the game rules that help people grow up and still play nicely. They help us make big things happen, like building cities, schools, and even space stations. The first step in building institutions is creating a shared space where people can come together. This isn't just about a building, but about a place that signals cooperation and mutual interest. This space becomes a symbol of trust. It's where agreements are made, and where the first seeds of collective responsibility begin to take root. The setup also involves defining roles. Even in the earliest stages, people begin to recognize who will be the leader, the mediator, the keeper of records. These roles aren't assigned by force, but by consensus. They emerge from the need for structure and the recognition of individual strengths. The first institutions are born not from power, but from purpose. They are the foundation upon which trust is built and shared purpose is cultivated. Once the initial trust is formed, institutions begin to crystallize around shared purpose. These structures aren't born from chaos, but from deliberate choices made by people who saw the value in cooperation over conflict. Rules emerge as a way to formalize expectations, ensuring that everyone plays their part. These aren't arbitrary commands, but agreements rooted in the mutual need to maintain stability and fairness. The clever twist comes when societies begin to formalize these informal agreements into something more durable. Rules that are not just spoken, but written, and not just written, but enforced. This is where institutions really take shape, not just as ideas, but as structures that can outlast individuals, binding people together across generations. These written rules become a kind of social contract, a promise that everyone agrees to follow, even when no one is watching. This is the moment when trust is no longer just a feeling. It becomes a system, a shared expectation that can be relied upon, even when the stakes are high. And so, with this clever twist, societies move from fragile cooperation to something more permanent. Trust made tangible, purpose made collective. Beneath the grand narratives of history, there's a quiet science of trust. It's not just about laws or leaders. It's about patterns, repetition, and the invisible glue that holds societies together. Institutions emerge from the rhythm of daily life. How people repeat behaviors, how they respond to failure, how they build on what's worked before. It's the science of repetition, of shared experience. Imagine a group of strangers in a vast, empty field, each holding a piece of a puzzle. No one knows what the final picture will look like, but they all agree it's worth trying. They don't know who will fit which piece, but they trust that if they work together, they'll eventually find the right connections. Institutions are like that. Not perfect, not planned, but built through shared effort, trust, and a willingness to make the hard connections. And just like that puzzle, our societies are made of countless such moments. Small, uncertain, but ultimately meaningful. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end. There's a moment in history when the world holds its breath, not from war or violence, but from the quiet realization that we are all in this together. We've always been interconnected, by trade, by climate, by the invisible threads of shared fate. But sometimes we forget how fragile that balance is. The future isn't just something we built. It's something we choose to build together. Or not at all. This isn't just about survival. It's about imagining a world where we're not just surviving, but thriving through unity, not division. The question isn't whether we can cooperate. It's whether we will. We're talking about the world standing at a crossroads. The choices we make today will shape the kind of future we leave behind for generations to come. From climate change to pandemics, from economic inequality to political polarization, the challenges we face are not just big. They're interconnected and overwhelming. The question isn't whether we can solve these problems. It's whether we can come together, across borders, ideologies, and differences to do it. Collaboration isn't just about working together. It's about trusting each other, even when the path is unclear and the stakes are high. This isn't a call to ignore the problems. It's a call to embrace the possibility that, despite everything, we might still have the power to shape a better world. You think your life is far from the chaos of borders and trees, but the air you breathe, the food you eat, and the technology you rely on are shaped by choices made in distant boardrooms and war rooms. When a climate disaster strikes one continent, it doesn't stay there. It ripples across oceans, affecting supply chains, migration routes, and the stability of entire regions. The world is not a collection of isolated nations. It is a web of interdependence, and when one thread is pulled, the whole tapestry can unravel. Your voice matters in these conversations, even if it doesn't feel like it. Every action you take, whether it's voting, consuming, or speaking up, is a ripple in a vast, unseen current. The future of cooperation isn't just about politics or diplomacy. It's about survival. And survival is a collective effort, not a solo act. So yes, you may feel powerless, but the truth is you are already part of the solution. The question is, will you stay silent or choose to be part of the change? We start in the aftermath of World War II, when the ashes of destruction still smoldered, and the world stood at the edge of another catastrophe. The United Nations was born from that fear, a fragile promise that humanity could learn from its past. The Cold War followed, a decades-long standoff that tested the limits of diplomacy. Yet even in the shadow of nuclear threat, the world found ways to cooperate, through science, trade, and the quiet persistence of dialogue. Then came the 1990s, a time of optimism and uncertainty. The fall of the Berlin Wall symbolized the end of an era, but new challenges emerged: climate change, globalization, and the rise of non-state actors. The world had to redefine what cooperation meant. The 21st century brought unprecedented speed and scale. From the Arab Spring to the global financial crisis, from the pandemic to the climate emergency, we have seen how quickly the world can change, and how interconnected we all are. And today, as we face a convergence of crises, climate, inequality, technology, and conflict, we are once again at a crossroads. The question is no longer whether we can cooperate, but whether we will choose to. Imagine you're playing a game with your friends, but instead of winning, you all have to work together to fix the board. It's hard, but if you don't, the game ends for everyone. You can't just take from the pile and run. You have to help others, and they have to help you. It's not fair, but it's the only way to keep playing. It's not about who gets the most pieces. It's about making sure everyone has enough to keep going. That's how you win the game. Not by taking, but by giving. The world is like that game. If we don't work together, we all lose. But if we listen, share, and help each other, even when it's hard, we can still play. The first step in building cooperation is understanding the map of the world as it is. Its borders, its conflicts, its shared resources. We must look beyond the headlines and see the complex web of interdependence that connects us all. This isn't just about geography. It's about recognizing the invisible threads that link our fates. Every decision made in one place has ripple effects across the world, sometimes in ways we can't even foresee. This clarity isn't just about facts. It's about responsibility. We have to acknowledge that no single nation, ideology, or leader can solve these crises alone. The stage is set, but the players must be ready to act together. The setup is not just about awareness, it's about commitment. We must prepare ourselves to move from understanding to action, from observation to participation, from isolation to connection. So, we start here, with a clear picture, a shared sense of urgency, and the recognition that the future of cooperation depends not on any one of us, but on all of us working together. Once the problem is identified, the next step is to design a mechanism that ensures every voice is heard, every interest is considered, and every action is aligned with the shared goal. This mechanism must be transparent, inclusive, and resilient, like a system that can adapt to new information and hold itself accountable for its outcomes. The mechanism must also include feedback loops, ways for people to see the impact of their contributions and to adjust course when needed, ensuring that no one is left behind. This is not just about technology or policy. It's about building trust, creating shared responsibility, and ensuring that the process of cooperation itself becomes a source of strength for all. The mechanism is the bridge between the problem and the solution, and it must be built with care, precision, and the belief that together we are capable of more than any one of us could achieve alone. The clever twist lies in the fact that cooperation is not just about sharing resources, but about redefining what we value as a society. We must shift from competition to collaboration, even when the stakes are highest. This means rethinking power structures and embracing new forms of leadership that prioritize collective well-being over individual gain. It's about building systems that reward unity rather than division. This requires a cultural shift, a reimagining of what it means to be successful, to be powerful, and to be responsible. It's about choosing to invest in the future of everyone, not just a select few. The clever twist is that the future of cooperation is not just a goal. It's a choice we make every day. It's a way of thinking, a way of living, and a way of ensuring that no one is left behind. Beneath the noise of political rhetoric and global tensions, there is a quiet, relentless science at work. Climate models, pandemic simulations, and neural networks are not just abstract equations. They are the pulse of a world trying to adapt. These systems are not perfect, but they are evolving. They learn from past failures, predict future risks, and offer pathways forward. Pathways that require us to see beyond our borders and our biases. But the science also reveals the limits of our current systems. Models can predict, but they cannot force cooperation. They can show us the consequences of inaction, but they cannot make us act. This is where the urgency lies. The science is clear, but the will to act is not. We are not just facing challenges. We are facing the test of our capacity to cooperate, to listen, to trust, and to build something greater than ourselves. Imagine a giant ant colony, each ant carrying a tiny seed. They don't think about the future. They just move. They just carry. They just survive. But somehow, over time, they build forests. This isn't metaphor. It's biology. Cooperation is not just a choice. It's survival. We are all ants in a global hive, and the future depends on what we carry forward. We don't need to be perfect. We don't need to be smart. We need to be consistent. We need to be present. We need to carry the seed, even when the path is unclear. The world is not waiting for a grand plan. It's waiting for us to move, to act, to trust, to carry. We are the ants, and the future is the forest. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.